First, New York City transit workers, they don't want their contributions in the aftermath of 9/11 to be forgotten, especially at the 9/11 Memorial Museum. And it seems that they won't be. News 12's Caitlin Ulrich talks with one transit worker who was down at Ground Zero for weeks after the attacks.
The first couple of days were pretty crazy because there was a lot of doubt. Nobody knew exactly what was going on. I mean, I'm driving on the Gowanus and I could hear fighter jets above me.
We cleared the area so rescue trucks can come in. We did that.
Members of the local transit workers union are passionate when they talk about 9/11, and they can't help it because so many were busing people out of the rubble.
Personally, that day, probably, I would say close to 1,000 because I made multiple trips.
Doing what they could do to help.
Transit workers always do things in this city when there's an emergency that's beyond the call of duty.
The TWU has long tried to recognize its members for their contributions, handing out 100 of these medals to date for the members with 9/11 related health issues. But they wanted the world outside of TWU to know what they did, which is why they started this petition to be a part of the 9/11 Memorial Museum.
We also were there, and we deserve recognition. Equal recognition. That's all we want.
And it looks like they'll get what they want most. Union members met with museum curators and executives, and in a statement, a museum spokesperson writes, quote, "Our curatorial department is working directly with TWU staff and representatives to identify artifacts, photos, and oral histories that may assist us in chronicling the story of the vital work transit workers undertook in the days and months after the attacks," unquote.
Well, I got to tell you the truth. I'm very, very happy about that. I'm optimistic. I've spoken to a couple of different union people recently, and they all feel very optimistic. So we'll see what happens in the future.
Museum staff is working with the union to develop educational resources, professional programs, and a place for their story in the collection. For News 12, Caitlin Ulrich.